What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are having another episode of the wacky world of Godzilla. With one exhale, buildings melt and cities fail. Born from nuclear energy, Godzilla will extinct humanity. This time I'm going to be talking about my 5 favourite Godzilla movies that don't include the original 1954 Godzilla or the 2014 reboot from Legendary Pictures. I am joined by a very special guest to talk about his favourite Godzilla films as well. I'm speaking about James over at MovieBug. He's going to be giving us his picks very shortly. But yeah, I thought I'd jump in and do this video next because I feel like it's just, it's almost like I'm recommending you some Godzilla films to check out if you've not seen them. Plus, they are ones that I generally love. They're my favourites in the franchise, the whole, 36 plus movie franchise that is Godzilla. But yeah, let's go and see what James has picked over at MovieBug. Let's have a look. James, let's talk some Godzilla.
You want me to talk about some Godzilla, Jason? I'm always game to talk about some Godzilla. Thank you first up, Jason, for having me on the channel. And yeah, my 5 favourite Godzilla films. I'm not going to talk about the obvious two, like Jason said, the 2014 one and the original, because they're going to be at the top of everyone's lists, aren't they? And I actually have you, Jason, to thank for getting me into all of the Godzilla stuff, because prior to the last couple of years, the only ones that I really knew were the American ones, I'll be honest. And then watching your videos and seeing your unboxing, like the Criterion set, I decided to go back, get that Criterion set, watch all of them, and then I went further and watched all of the others, everything, all the way up to the Netflix animated films. And here are my top 5 picks, other than those two. My 5th favourite would be the original King Kong vs. Godzilla. This film is cheesy, and yet some people dated as hell. And I would say it genuinely is. Godzilla is swinging Kong about by his tail. King Kong shoves a tree down Godzilla's throat. But this entire film is just so fun. The energy to get to these monsters clashing is brilliant. And when they do, it is a lot of fun. And yeah, it's just one of the old classics, which I always enjoy going back to. And while I am a fan of the earlier Godzilla films, from here on out, they are all majority newer ones. I think just because these ones here really push themselves a lot more, which is what I respect about them. And for me, Godzilla versus Space Godzilla is one which I had a lot of fun with. Just because it pushed itself a bit more than previous films I found. And there was something seeing about... I get that with Mechagodzilla is kind of the equivalent to Godzilla, but because it's a robot, I don't know if it has the same impact for me, even though we're going to talk about some Mechagodzilla in a minute. But Space Godzilla, that opposing force there being so similar, was really great. Also, I loved his design. I thought he looked really badass. And there was just some incredibly fun action sequences with him, which I always enjoy going back to. Then we have Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Yeah, the first one was pretty good. I enjoyed that a fair bit. But there was something about the second one. I think it was just because it seemed to have better action sequences. And to be honest, a lot of us go to Godzilla for the action sequences. Seeing him and another monster trample over cities, it's one of the reasons why I love going to films like this and Gamera and King Kong. Just seeing these huge monsters fight in these locations is always so much fun. And the fights that he has in this one are really great. And Mechagodzilla seems a bit more threatening in this one as well than the first one, which is what I appreciate about this one a fair bit. Then we have this. Okay, this one's a mouthful. I've always really liked I've only watched this film the once, but it really caught me off guard. I was expecting a very average movie. Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monster All Out Attack. What a mouthful of a movie. It's a terrible title, but a really good movie. You have all of the best characters here. You've got Mothra, who I also really love. Really love some of her solo films as well. King Ghidorah is probably the best Godzilla villain. The abilities that this monster has is crazy. And with the modern effects, looks amazing, by the way, in this one. And then, of course, Godzilla's there as well, and it's just a huge battle. It is what it says on the title. There are very few human scenes in comparison to other films in the Godzilla universe, which I love. It is just purely focused on the monsters fighting, which is what we want to see. And it is one of the most fun Godzilla films. There's just so many great action sequences. You've got the best monsters. Yeah, great film. And then my number one pick, obviously outside of the 2014, the original, they are my favourites. It's going to be one of the newest ones. I think it might be the newest one. Godzilla vs. Kong. Yeah, look, there's some dodgy human stuff in this, mostly around the Godzilla team, the team that carried over from the previous film with Millie Bobby Brown and stuff. I really don't like that side of the film. The humans there suck. But I really like the King Kong humans. They seem like they actually have a purpose to the story, and I think it works really well there. And when Godzilla shows up, he just shows up in the most badass ways. And I love the fact that he's winning most of the fights, and they show that he is unstoppable. And in that final fight at the end where they have to team up, yeah, man, I was like cheering in the cinema watching that. That was so much fun. But anyway, there's my top 5. Jason, thank you for letting me on the channel. I love Godzilla. I'm so excited for the TV show coming out soon on Apple TV. And yeah, the new Toho film as well. Let's go.
So yeah, thank you so much, James, for giving us your picks there. Some great choices, in my opinion, you've thrown out there. I love King Kong vs. Godzilla. It's so much fun, very goofy, but it's always a fun one to go back to. And, you know, that really kind of made Godzilla a household name over in the West as well. Very, very cool choice, in my opinion. And the other picks were really cool as well. But let's get into my picks. So my number 5 pick is going to be Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. This film is just wonderfully crafted for me. I feel like this is the quintessential film when it concerns King Ghidorah, the ultimate nemesis of Godzilla, and Godzilla himself. I think this is the ultimate film featuring these two characters. I love the story of this as well, where it's about these aliens that come from the future, and they're talking about how Godzilla destroys Japan, and it's like they've come back to the past to help stop it happen. And it's just really, really fun, and stuff happens, and things that I can't really say about it in the film if you've not seen it, but big things happen, big revelations happen in this film that really make it kind of a really fun film to go back to. Their fight at the end of this film is epic beyond all proportions. Yeah, the suit in this is awesome. The designs of the suits are fantastic, and yeah, I just think it just looks awesome. This is one of my favourite eras of Godzilla because he looks absolutely menacing and terrifying, and he's ready to fight in this one. One of my favourite designs for Godzilla in this. That's Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. My number 4 pick would be the 1964 classic. This is a classic Godzilla one. This is Godzilla versus Mothra, or Mothra versus Godzilla. I keep forgetting which way around it goes because it always, people write it in both ways, I guess. This one's a really fun film about these big hotshot business people discovering these 2 eggs that belong to Mothra, and it's Mothra's babies, and they want to kind of almost like use them as like a get rich scheme. And obviously Mothra tries to protect them, but some reason Godzilla just wants them to be destroyed, and he wants to come out and just destroy shit. And yeah, it just turns out to be the battle of the ages of Godzilla versus Mothra. A very, very fun movie. Really love Mothra in this. She's like really cute but also formidable when it concerns facing off against Godzilla. And yeah, I really recommend this one. It's a very heartwarming one, very kind of like more chilled out and stuff, but it's very, very good, and it's a classic of the Showa era for me. It's one of the better Showa era Godzilla films. It's not as kind of cartoonish and goofy as it would later become in the Showa. It's more grounded than a lot of the Showa era films even compared to stuff like King Kong versus Godzilla and stuff like that, it's a bit more grounded. But I really do like all the characters in this. The twin fairies are really, really likable. Their little kind of Mothra song will get stuck in your head all day long as well. But yeah, this one's one of my favourites from the Showa era. That is Mothra versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Mothra. My number 3 pick is Godzilla versus Destroyer. Yes, this one, I think it has a lot of heartfelt weight in this one. There's a lot of stakes riding on this story, and I think it's just a great story to tell. You know, Godzilla kind of meets his match in this film. Destroyer is this weird kind of larvae creature that kind of evolves into this just horrendous monster and becomes pretty much Godzilla's ultimate foe in this movie, especially for the Heisei era in particular. We get introduced to Burning Godzilla, my favourite era of Godzilla, my favourite Godzilla design, Burning Godzilla. He just looks fantastic in this. He's like, you can see on the front here, he's all like becoming like molten lava and burning up and smoking, and he's got red eyes. He just looks awesome. But he is, in the storyline, he's reaching like a nuclear mass and he will explode. So like the human characters, the army and the authorities, they have a decision to make whether to like use Godzilla as a weapon to destroy Destroyer, or destroy Godzilla before he goes into meltdown. This is a great film. It's really violent for the time as well, really nasty stuff in this. And there's like little kind of spidery destroyer creatures that attack the city and its inhabitants, and it's just really like almost like a horror film in places. It's got a really heartfelt, really sad ending to this film, so much so it even made like the media in the US as well during this time in 1995 when this came out. It was such a big deal for the character, such a big moment for the character. It made like headline news in the US as well. So this film for me will always be one of my favourites. It's one of the darker Godzilla films. It's really like almost like a horror film, like I said. And yeah, it's got my favourite Godzilla design. Burning Godzilla is just epic. Yeah, this is the Blu-ray that I've got. Awesome film. I do recommend this one if you want something a bit more grounded and darker in tone and a bit more horror inspired. That's Godzilla versus Destroyer. My number 2 pick is going to be Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Yeah, this one, the first pick my only pick out of the Millennium era at the moment for me. I just love this film. For everything it does, it's just amazingly good. So it's about basically the Earth Defense Force, the humanity, you know, in Japan, they get absolutely just wrecked by Godzilla in a particular attack, and it's like they decide to build their own Godzilla. You know, obviously like Mechagodzilla, they decide to build their own Godzilla, but they build it around the bones of the ancient 1954 Godzilla. So it almost acts like a direct sequel, like so many years later, after that film, the original film. So they build their own Mechagodzilla. They call it Kiryu, and they use it to fight Godzilla. And it's just really, really, really great. The cinematography in this film is absolutely outstanding. The quality of this film is just immaculate. This Blu-ray in particular that I hold right here, it's one of the best looking Godzilla Blu-rays. It looks incredibly good. I love Kiryu's design. Like, it's basically something straight out of like a mecha anime. It's fucking badass. Yeah, it's so cool. The weaponry on Kiryu is really awesome as well. Godzilla looks kick-ass as always as well. This is like proper, you know, Millennium era Godzilla. It looks more kind of, I feel like Millennium era Godzilla's got more of kind of almost like a feline quality to his look. Obviously, he's very reptilian as well in this as well. But yeah, this film is great. It obviously follows a female character who pilots Kiryu, and she was a part of the beginning of the film where her whole team gets wiped out by Godzilla and she's the sole survivor. And a lot of one person in her new team has doubts that she's going to get everybody killed because she did last time, and it's about her kind of overcoming her detractors and proving that she can really kind of be this leader and this pilot of Kiryu and overcome Godzilla. Great movie, so much fun. It's almost like an over-the-top action-packed episode of an anime. Absolutely fantastic. It's one of my go-to ones for like an easy watch for a Godzilla film. Straight up action, really great characters, really heartwarming story for this redemption for this character who she failed at the beginning, but now she's got to prove herself. Great story overall. If there was a human story that I will recommend that is actually decent in the Godzilla franchise, it would be Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. I love this film. It is fantastic. That brings us to my number one favourite Godzilla film that's not the 2014 reboot or the original 1954 movie. So my favourite Godzilla film, aside from those, is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Yep, two Mechagodzilla films back to back. What can I say? I love the Mechagodzilla concept. But yeah, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla from 1974, from the Showa era, is just everything that I love about the Godzilla franchise. It has everything in it for me. It has the great Godzilla suitmation. It's got an awesome villain, these aliens that create their own Godzilla. They want to take over the world. So they thought, oh, let's create a Mecha Godzilla, disguise it as a real Godzilla, and make people try and turn humans against him again. But it doesn't work. Godzilla comes back. He fights this Mecha Godzilla. And yeah, it's just so much fun. He does kind of meet his match in this, so he has to kind of call up another kaiju and have like a tag team almost. It's really fun. I really love this film. It's one of my favourites in the franchise. Yeah, it is my favourite in the franchise, aside from the original and the 2014 reboot. This has everything that it has everything I love about Godzilla in it. It's so much fun. The suit design's amazing. Mechagodzilla, he's my boy, right? I love the whole design. He's got missiles in his fingers. He's got that kind of like ray out of his eyes. It's just cool. It's just cool stuff. And it really makes me kind of nostalgic for that kind of era of films. And it does kind of make me feel like, Power Rangers has a lot of inspiration from the Godzilla franchise. I know Power Rangers was kind of like based on, well, a lot of it is from the show Super Sentai, but I reckon Super Sentai was very heavily inspired by Godzilla as well. But yeah, that is my favourite. That's my number one pick. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my picks, and of course James over at Movie Bug's picks as well. I think these 10 picks overall are just really great go-to movies that I think you all will enjoy if you want to just jump in and check out some Godzilla stuff. I do have another list video with James coming out about the films we would recommend for beginners. I think that would be a really kind of insightful episode and really kind of get people on board where they can start and what films to kind of look out for that I think give a good first impression for beginner, people that haven't, experienced the Godzilla films for the first time, especially the Japanese era Godzilla films. But I feel these picks in this video of our favourites, I think they're still pretty good starting points as well. So let us know what you think about these movies in the comments down below. Are you a Godzilla fan? Do you love these movies? Let us know. If you're not a Godzilla fan and you're interested in getting into Godzilla and you have checked out this stuff, let us know what you think about these in the comments down below. Once again, thank you to James over at Movie Bug for collaborating with me on this fun Godzilla video. But as always, guys, I'll see you next time, I suppose. Bye.